Hello, welcome to the Entrepreneurs Network. I'm Rick Anthony. The experts predict that by 2050, the world's food growing capacity will have to support 9 billion people on this little pebble swirling around in the universe. 2 billion more than we have now, with the greatest increases in parts of the world that can least afford that many additional people, particularly in terms of the infrastructure and their capacity to feed, to clothe, to house. To increase the yield of crops planted in soil that's been degraded over the years, we use chemicals to do what nature apparently can't do fast enough for us. Chemicals that over time degrade the soil and contaminate, spoil, poison the water supply and compromise the soil. My guest today, Bob Cirino, with his venture partners, believes that there is a solution, something called biochar. I'd never heard of it before until just a few weeks ago. Also known as Biochar Bob. Bob Cirino is Director of Impact for Soil Reef, the biochar company located in Wayne, Pennsylvania. Somehow I managed to spit that all out. Welcome, Biochar Bob,
glad to be here.
the Entrepreneurs Network.
Thanks, Rick.
As I said, I'd never heard of this before. I'm not a gardener. I'm somewhat into sustainability and all those good things. But as I became more aware of it, and just by coincidence happened to see a program on one of the PBS channels on what's coming at us in terms of short of food supply, water particularly, it's scary stuff.
It is.
But as I was saying to you before we went on the air, my experience with some of the ventures and initiatives I've been involved in, we as a society don't pay attention to anything until it's right there.
Unfortunately.
It's happening with aging, the boomers, the significant impact that all of these demographic changes are having on the way we live, how long we live. And I'm not sure this is going to be any different. But I guess that's what you and Jeff Whalen, your partner, are trying to do. When Jeff told me about you and the mission of the company, I expected to see you in a costume of some kind, maybe a giant carrot or a vegetable, because that seems to be the message that you're trying to get out. That is, biochar enables us to produce more, better food more quickly and in greater abundance. Is that essentially what your mission is?
That's a part of it, yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, the writing is on the walls, as you said, like you've seen in PBS.
Yes.
The UN has declared 2015 as the year of the soil. So it's at the forefront of folks who need to consider that kind of thing's minds. But as you said, on that consumer level, if it's not right here, it's not always the easiest thing to grasp. So at the basic level, biochar, which is a special kind of charcoal made to increase soil productivity, growing more food is part of the equation. Another part of the equation is that it cleans the water that passes through it, like a Brita filter might. So in those contaminants that are being used on farms that are washing into their waterways, biochar not only can retain those in the root zone, thus the increased productivity, but you're also reducing pollution as it's leaving the site. In addition to that, biochar is a form of carbon sequestration.
You say what?
It's a form of carbon sequestration. The long and short of it is that there's too much carbon in the air, and it's driving a lot of strange phenomenon. And biochar is a way to lock that carbon into a stable form of charcoal and put it in the soil for hundreds to thousands of years. So you're essentially taking it out of the atmosphere where it's causing problems and putting it back where it originally came from, which was the soil.
So biochar is charcoal?
It is charcoal,
It's a form of charcoal. But it's not the kind of charcoal we get in briquettes that we use for barbecue.
That's right.
Or is it?
No, it's not. And that's a common mistake. And that is actually one of the hurdles in the biochar market, is having an understanding to the consumers of why this is special and why this is unique. It really comes down to the temperature that you're making the product at. The low temperature, you have a lot of those tars, resins, and oils that make your fire go in your charcoal pit.
Yeah.
However, on the other end of the spectrum, which is the activated carbon, very energy-intensive process used to filter water in your Brita filter. So if those are the two polar opposites, so to speak, biochar is in the middle, where it has the ability to take nutrients, like a Brita filter might, but then also uniquely give it back to the microorganisms and to the plants, but it doesn't have any of the tars and oils that you'll find in your charcoal. So it's very, very beneficial for soils.
In the material you sent me in advance of our visit, your bio states that Biochar Bob has a passion for the vitalization of soil using regenerative techniques to create replicable models of sustainable human-nature interaction. Woo! I said when I read that and reread that. But then I watched the short video that accompanied some of the material, and I thought that's a much better explanation
Sure.
of what this is all about. So why don't we watch a 3-minute or so videotape made by the Biochar company.
With the Lexicon of Sustainability.
Okay. So a joint project.
Yep.
That pretty much explains what biochar is, but more importantly, the benefits, what it does, how powerful it is as an ingredient, an agent. So let's watch the 3-minute video.
We all share the same air and the same water. And we owe our existence to 6 inches of topsoil and a little bit of rain. Beneath our feet, an invisible world teems with life. These complex interactions create a soil food web with millions of nematodes, protozoa, and tiny microbial creatures. These play a vital role in the development of plants and the food we eat. In Brazil's central Amazonian basin, scientists have studied how these farmers, for thousands of years, have created rich soils to support microbial life and improve their crop yields. Their secret is a principle called terra preta. It uses pyrolysis to create a charcoal-like substance that greatly increases a soil's resilience. Today, companies use technology to create a modern form of terra preta. It's called biochar. How does it work? Wood, or feedstock, is fed into a rotary kiln that operates at temperatures roughly 500 degrees Celsius. The kiln's oxygen-limited environment carbonizes the biomass, creating biochar, with the exhaust heat it generates also available as energy for human use. Biochar has a highly unique and stable structure. Look closely at just 1 gram of biochar. If unfolded, it would cover the entire surface of a basketball court. The unique structure of these highly porous particles helps them facilitate the exchange of nutrients and water within the soil, storing it for when it's needed, and providing a resilient foundation for productive plants and life, both below and at the surface. Biochar. It strengthens the soil food web and creates a more biologically dynamic system to grow your food. To learn more about terms like biochar, visit lexiconofsustainability.com. And remember, your words can change the world.
That's a very nice job.
Thank you.
In 3 minutes, very succinct, it lays it out. Even I understood it. Is that video getting a lot of play?
A lot of play in a small pond is all relative.
Sure.
But in the small pond, yes.
Yeah.
The goal was there's a lot of content out there that's like 20 minutes long of what biochar is. So let's create something that a toddler could understand.
So it's available to anyone who...
Yep, it's on YouTube. It's on our website.
It is. Okay. Quite, we'll double back on that because you have a good bit of stuff on the website. Several videos that you've been producing as part of the mission and the education campaign. I also read in the material you sent that the Biochar company is a finalist in the Sir Richard Branson's $25 million Virgin Earth Challenge for a commercial technology that could draw down 1 billion tons of atmospheric carbon, the point you were making earlier. What's the status of the competition and what chances do you think the Biochar company has?
So the competition isn't a time-based thing. It's more like a finish line kind of thing. So It's once a technology can prove that it's commercial
Oh, I see.
enough to scale,
Right.
to be able to take a large chunk of carbon out of the atmosphere as a byproduct of doing business. And that's the beautiful part of it. And that's why Richard Branson is interested in doing
Yes.
it. And of the 10,000 applicants for that that challenge, we were one of the 11 finalists.
Really?
And you know, we're very
11 out of 10,000? Boy, that's pretty good.
I mean, it's a brilliant technology. It's why
Will
we're
the
so
11
passionate about
now
this.
be pruned to 5 and then eventually the final?
So there's
winner?
11 finalists,
Yes.
and the attitude is whoever does it first wins.
Okay.
Now, through the test of time, some of the technologies have been mothballed or the companies have gone under. So I feel very confidently that biochar is not only just an incredible solution, but it will be the winner of the competition.
But what are the milestones? Does the competition set certain milestones and criterion?
So you work with their staff and you
Right.
say, look what we've done, look how it scales, and then
Okay.
they'll make a judgment call as to whether they think that that's
So
viable
they
or not.
watch, they don't mentor, but they watch.
They open doors.
Oh, they do?
They help in ways that they can help.
Yes.
And so you know, we'll have conversations with their staff from time to time. Our product is in one of the roof gardens at Virgin.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so you know, something as small as that even,
Yeah.
which is great.
That's exciting though. One, the competition, the fact that you've made it to one of 11 in the world, that is quite laudable.
Thank you.
Biochar is not a new product. It's been around for a very long time. Is that correct?
About 350 million years.
Oh, really? But when was it first? When and where was it first used? As part of a systematic agriculture program.
Sure. The most famous example is in the Amazon. Thousands of years ago, instead of slashing and burning, where they would release all that carbon as smoke, the Amazonian tribes people would do slash and char. And what they would do is capture that carbon in the form of charcoal and put it into their tropical soils that are notoriously infertile. Because it doesn't break down very quickly, and in the tropics, everything breaks down quickly,
Yeah.
the biochar is able to last for hundreds to thousands of years in that soil, increasing the productivity of it. So Professor Sumbrook went, I believe it was in the 60s or 70s, and went down to look at these soils that were creating incredible vegetative booms. If you would go over with a helicopter, very dense stands, and they say, why? Went down into the soil, whereas most of the soil is very tightly packed red clay. There were 6 feet of black, dark, rich earth. And this is hundreds of years after they had died from smallpox and syphilis, after the Spanish conquistadors made initial contact with them. So even hundreds of years after the human use of that, it still is creating that productivity. And so in the early 2000s, the research started getting picked up by industry. And you saw Agrichar and a couple different folks who were
That
focusing
recent?
in on that.
2000?
Yep. And so in 2008 is when our initial company first started doing this, and in 2011
Right.
we made one of the first consumer products for biochar. So it's brand new, and it's taking an ancient technology but honing in the science of it and being able to market it.
What does you created one of the first consumer products mean? You mean it was the first time it was available to the general public? Gardeners?
It's hard to say first
Yeah.
because you never know that kind of thing. But essentially, yes. Where
Okay.
the majority of people were focusing on technology to produce it, but there weren't any brands who were selling it. And you need demand to stimulate supply. And so that's when Soil Reef, our brand, was born.
And the entrepreneurial journey that the biochar company has been going through, and not too dissimilar from many, many others, that is, you continue to learn and refine not just the basic concept, but as important, the distribution system. As I understand it, it is now available in fairly large bags that you would find outside of a hardware store or a supermarket and so on.
We're in Whole Foods here in Devon.
Yeah.
So you can pick up a 1 cubic foot bag there. Similarly, we can move 2 cubic yard totes on tractor trailers. And to the opposite end of the spectrum, there are people who are using our product in tea bag sized nutrient packets to put in your tomatoes. And that's a Pennsylvania company as well called Organic Mechanics. So we're spanning the
But
range.
does the composition of the product, does it vary depending upon how much is in the package? Is it a 50-50, 50% char and 50% compost of some kind?
Here and today,
Yes.
that is our best-selling product, is
The
half
50-50?
compost,
All right.
half biochar.
Right.
But if you look across the market, biochar is an ingredient, just like flour would be an ingredient in baking a cake. There's spices and secret sauces and all these different ways to enhance it. But biochar, what's wonderful about it is it's a fundamental building block of soil fertility and plant growth. So whatever you want to do to that, and whatever percentage you desire, is up to your art. And so we're going to be releasing a whole new product line that has varying percentage of biochar that's not just half compost, half biochar, but potting soil with 5 to 10% biochar in
Yeah.
it. Fertilizer with 10% incorporated into the fertilizer.
Are you in the wholesale business or the retail business?
We're mostly focused on the retail business.
retail.
We do wholesale, but where we're leaning in the most is the retail.
But biochar, as I understand it, is maybe difficult isn't the word, but producing it is not an easy task. It is expensive to produce. It sucks up a lot of energy, as I understand it.
It brings its own energy to the
Oh, it does?
shop.
You have to explain that. But you've got a product that is, if not difficult, complicated to make. The point is, there's not a lot of it around, or there's not a lot of it around that has been economically produced in large quantities, so that you can satisfy the demand you're trying to build for it.
Right.
How do you resolve that dilemma?
And that's, like you said, the entrepreneurial journey. You know, you find something that you believe in and that you know is solving a very dire problem. And then it's, okay, now how can I get this to the market? And so the reason it's so expensive is because of infrastructure. There hasn't been a lot of investment into biochar specific production. A lot of money has gone into biofuels, and a biochar would be a byproduct of that process. But ever since 2008, money going into clean tech, biofuels, and et cetera, et cetera. And so it leaves us to more boutique, smaller operations where either you don't have as much control over the product creation process, or the scale isn't large enough to be meaningful. So what we're doing as a response to that is we're incorporating it into lower percentages into products that consumers are ready to buy. For example, if I go to the store and I'm a gardener, I'm going to want to get some compost for my garden. If I have the option to get a compost product that's just a couple of dollars more expensive that has biochar in it, something that I know will last for generations in my soil, I'm going to get that. And if it's just a couple dollars jump, I don't get the sticker shock of our 50-50 product, which is, you know, easily twice the price.
So let me see if I got this straight. You've got a product that is miraculous in its benefits, but it's difficult to make, it's expensive to make, there's not much of it, and you're probably up against a very powerful lobby, mostly the agricultural chemical industry, that wants to maintain the status quo because they're making a lot of money. Why would an investor invest in you guys? It's highly speculative, it's got a long tail on it, and it's got to be very patient money, I guess.
Patient money.
Yeah.
And well, it's kind of dual pronged. This is something that needs to happen.
Yes.
Period. And if you see that, then you see it. And finding an investor who is able to, first of all, see that, and second of all, be motivated and inspired by that, you know, that's sorting the deck. And then the second aspect is for the tranche that's needed to make it not have all those challenges of production and price and all that stuff. You know, that's not a small amount of money. So to find someone who fits both bills, that's a rare find. And then as far as the lobbying is concerned, you know, there has been pressure put on by lobbyists, but I believe that this is something that is undeniably beneficial. And I think that it's going to become so drastically dire of a situation where the world is going to absolutely need something like this, including the companies who are creating that world. So it's definitely passion driven, and
where, in what part of the world, and you do quite a bit of traveling yourself.
I do.
In fact, you're leaving soon to head down to the Dominican Republic
I am.
on a project. Since I brought it up, you want to tell us what that's about?
I'd love to. So there is a eco tourism project with sustainable development down there in the Dominican Republic. It's all focused on conservation and low impact development. In the heart and the passion of the project, the goal was to create a replicatable blueprint of what a sustainable society or sustainable economically valuable project would be like. And as part of that equation, the development team believes that biochar is part of that equation. And so when they said, well, you know, who do we call? They called the Biochar company.
Okay.
And so, so I'm going down to the Dominican Republic to become part of that project and do biochar production, as well as run organic farms, excuse me, to supply all the demand. It's completely off grid. So we're producing our own food, our own energy.
Wow.
And we're treating all of our own sewage sludge. And the beautiful thing about biochar, which is why I believe in it so much, is that it can address all of those things very potently, taking advantage of waste agricultural streams.
But from what you've seen, Bob, and what you've heard from other people, where in the world will it reach a crisis point where somebody will say, we have the solution, we have to do whatever is necessary to make enough of it, to get it in the ground, because if we don't do it now, we're going to miss an opportunity for generations to come. Where is that going to happen? Is it going to happen in Haiti or the Dominican Republic? Is it going to happen here in the U.S. because we're depleting the
California,
soil?
and Texas, and Florida.
Do we need another dust bowl to bring us to our senses?
And the hope is that that won't happen, where we can be proactive and not reactive. You know, I was talking to my friend and I said, we were talking about the food bubble, which is, you know, a new buzzword. And I said, when do you think it's going to pop? And he said, it's started popped already. It's already popped, and we're experiencing the very beginnings of it right now. And so I really do believe it's a matter of time before that, you know, love connection of the person who has the vision, who has the ambition and the capital to make something like this happen.
Does biochar solve the problem of insufficient water for agriculture as well? Does it help retain moisture?
It does help retain. It can't make it rain, but when it does rain, it'll keep it in the soil for longer. To the tune of, you know, we were doing some work down in the citrus industry in Florida, and they're working in 99% sand soils. By putting 7% biochar in the top 6 inches of one farm, 1 acre of that practice will increase the water holding capacity by 64,000 gallons. Wow. So every time it rains at least that much, it's going to retain that in the soil within the spongy structure of the biochar. And with the biological communities being intertwined with that structure, it's able to pump that out to the root extremely effectively.
It's better than a rain barrel.
It's like a rain barrel in your soil.
That's right. Tell us about the series of video tapes that the Biochar company has produced, again, as part of the education and promotion campaign.
Sure. So, you know, Jeff, the founder of the Biochar company, and I were sitting at a table and we're like, this is such an amazing product. How do we get this out to people? And we said, who doesn't like a good movie? So we set out to make a documentary, basically taking inventory of the industry and setting the case. And from that birthed Biochar Bob, where my passion about this was very evident, as you might tell. And
teensy little bit, yes.
And so, and I love to share good things. And so we created a series of YouTube videos over the past several years that showcase the impact biochar has on people, on the planet, and on specific projects. From working in Haiti, where we're looking at using that to grow better papaya, to going to Costa Rica, where there's a cook stove that makes biochar. So instead of all the smoke from a traditional fire that is a very big health hazard, making biochar is a very clean process. If you look into the science of it, it produces 92% less particulate matter and 87% less carbon monoxide using one of these household stoves. And at the same time, you're able to take that charcoal and put it in your home garden to help feed your family more. And likewise, we were just at Chanticleer, one of the private one of the gardens around here, gorgeous. They use our biochar, because they took up a sewer line, had all
Yes.
this bad soil, they couldn't grow anything in, they used biochar, and now they use biochar everywhere. So we show projects here as well as across the world.
And all of those videos are on your
YouTube.
website?
So if you go to youtube.com/biocharbob,
Okay.
you'll be able to find all, I think it's 28 videos now. And then if you go to soilreef.com, you'll be able to find our products as well as a lot of our videos there.
The predictions I referenced earlier by the people who seem to know what you're talking about, that we're headed for disaster
Yes.
on a global basis unless we do something. Does that bother you? Does it sometimes get you depressed because it seems like such a monumental mountain you have to climb? Or are you one of those optimistic people who believe that somehow, some way, we'll figure our way out of this? As a society, as 9 billion people on this little pebble?
It was put to me this way. What makes you pound the table while you weep? Then go fix it. So, am I optimistic? Of course I'm optimistic. The reason I'm optimistic is because we know now, here and today, what to do.
Yes.
It's just a design matter. Can we design society to be able to take what we know how
it's
to
a
do?
will matter. It's a lack of will to do it.
And can we create a design of society where by default you don't have to make a conscious decision? Like when you do something, you don't understand all the externalities that are attributed to throwing away this paper or drinking this coffee. How could I make all those decisions consciously for everything that I do? The goal is to create a default setting where we are living in harmony and harnessing the power of nature rather than fighting the power of nature. It's 1.8 billion years in research and development. It's a great system. If we can understand how to live in its abundance in a way where, we just have to take a bigger picture kind of view. So I'm optimistic because I believe that especially my generation, are acutely aware of this problem.
Yes.
It's great to have the support of folks like you because you are our mentors.
Older folk,
and,
yes.
and you are the people who can open the doors that allow the passionate visionaries.
My concern is for my grandchildren.
And that was the basis of
Sure.
why Jeff Wallen got involved with Green et al. He had a child, and his whole world got turned upside down, and he said, wait, I have to think in a completely different way now. I want this beautiful being to live in a great world.
Like most early stage companies, you need money and lots
true.
of it. So those who may be watching who are interested in supporting what you are trying to do, the Biochar company, how do they contact you?
There's a
How can they
contact.
make a contribution? Do you have a Kickstarter campaign now?
So I'd put 3 options on the table.
Okay.
If you're interested in getting involved directly with the company, I would suggest that you would go to our soilreef.com website and contact us on our contact form. Or if you'd like to support me specifically as Biochar Bob going to the Dominican Republic to help empower that project, there's a GoFundMe that we've put together. I believe the link is on the bottom of the screen.
All right.
And that's gofundme.com/buildingparadise.
All right.
And we don't have the exact date yet, but we will be launching an Indiegogo for our brand new product line, which we're working with a local PR firm, Gregory FCA, to help us launch that program. And get some products for yourself as well as empower a good company.
Well, it's great. I commend you, you and your generation, for taking the lead, because if you don't, we are in serious trouble. We truly are. You don't have to read too much. You don't have to watch too many shows. You just begin to experience it. Thank God we're not hit by it in this country yet because we're spoiled here. But as you know, look around the rest of the world, and they're beginning to experience it in underdeveloped countries that can't feed themselves, can't take care of themselves. I hope you make it.
Thank you very much, Rick.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate the conversation.
and thank you for the good work, Biochar Bob.
You bet.
And come back safely. Does your mother know where you're going? Oh, okay.
Yes, she does. She supports
Your
me.
girlfriend knows where you're going.
My fiance.
Your
knows.
fiancé knows
Yes,
where you're going.
yes.
Okay. Well, then you have to come back.
Thank you, Rick.
Until next time, once again, if you're interested, it's the Biochar Company right here in Wayne, Pennsylvania. Until next time, this is the Entrepreneurs Network. I am Rick Anthony. Take very good care of yourselves.